Chapter 6073. At 10 a.m., a private jet converted from a Boeing 747-8 landed at Ores Hill Airport. After Steve, the heir to the Rothschild family, arrived on the same plane with his entourage. They completed the customs entry procedures as quickly as possible. The staff of the Rothschild family in China have been waiting here for a long time. Although Steve does not yet know when he will take charge of power. In the eyes of others, he is the true representative of the entire Rothschild family. He is the number 2 person, so they naturally respect him very much. When Steve left the airport, there was already a fleet of Cadillacs waiting for state guests outside the airport. These vehicles are all the same presidential cars ordered by the Rothschild family from the United States. Although they do not look as luxurious and comfortable as Rolls-Royce. The cost of each of these cars is more expensive than the Rolls-Royce Phantom. In fact, the old money family has already abandoned Rolls-Royce. Today's Rolls-Royce owners are mostly young rich second generations. Or young people who suddenly became rich by speculating in coins or self-media. After Steve got into a bulletproof and explosion-proof Cadillac, he directly ordered the person in charge of the reception, go to Classic Mansion. The person in charge rushed over from East Cliff yesterday and was not familiar with Ores Hill. But he went to Classic Mansion. He had studied the route carefully already. So he said without hesitation, "Okay sir, let's go directly to Classic Mansion." At this time, Classic Mansion had suspended business. The parking lot was guarded by dedicated personnel, and no cars were allowed in. Orville drove Charlie and Isaac to Classic Mansion first. After parking the car, Charlie strode into the gate of Classic Mansion and said to Orville beside him, "Orville, you are the host, and we will be hosted by you later. You receive them here, and remember, no matter how many people come to their party, only Steve can be allowed in." "Okay, Master Wade." Orville nodded heavily and then said, "Yes. Master Wade, the business car you asked me to prepare is already parked at the back door." "Okay." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Remember, you don't need to be too polite to this Steve. Lest he really thinks he is a kind of distinguished guest." Orville nodded and said with a smile, "Master Wade, don't worry." Charlie greeted Isaac and said, "Old Chen, let's go to the private room and wait." Orville said hurriedly, "Master Wade, let me take you and Mr. Chen up." Charlie smiled and said, "This is not the first time here, so there is no need to bother." Orville nodded, "Diamond box, you know for sure." Charlie and Isaac stepped upstairs, while Orville stayed on the first floor to wait. Arriving at the box, Charlie sat directly at the main seat facing the door. And then said to Isaac, "Old Chen, sit on my left." "Okay, young master." Isaac nodded respectfully and then sat on Charlie's left side. Isaac, who had just rushed back to Ores Hill today, did not know the intention of the Rothschild family. He asked nervously, "Master, is there anything I should pay attention to when meeting this person?" "Attention?" Charlie smiled and said, "There is nothing that requires special attention. Just remember not to take him too seriously." Isaac was slightly stunned, and then nodded heavily. "Okay, young master, I understand." Soon, a convoy of Cadillacs drove over from the intersection directly in front of Classic Mansion. When Orville saw the convoy, he asked the boy in the parking lot to lift the pole to let the convoy in. After the motorcade entered the parking space one after another, more than 10 bodyguards in black suits immediately got out. As soon as they came out, they immediately surrounded Steve's car with professional postures and looked around vigilantly. A blonde white man walked towards Classic Mansion. And Orville also walked out to meet him at this time. The blonde white man looked like a CIA agent, looking left and right vigilantly. And whispered through the walkie-talkie microphone he wore, "Everyone, stay where you are, be careful." As he was saying that, Orville had already arrived in front of him. He looked Orville up and down and asked him, "Are you the person in charge of Classic Mansion?" If Charlie had not greeted Orville in advance, Orville would probably have been frightened by the posture of the man in front of him. But he already knew Steve's identity and his upcoming trip to the dog farm. So he didn't take the man in front of him seriously at all and just said disdainfully, "Who is the person in charge?" "I am the boss here." After that, Orville raised his eyebrows and asked him, "What about you? Are you the security in charge of this motorcade?" The man did not expect to be given the title of security in charge and said with some displeasure, "I am from the Rothschild family. Security consultant once worked for C." "Stop talking." Orville stretched out his hand to interrupt him and said calmly, "I came here in person just to meet a guest named Steve Rothschild. Since you are not, there is no need. Stop talking nonsense with me. Our boss is waiting upstairs and tell Steve to stop showing off in the car and get out of the car and follow me." After that, Orville ignored the other person's annoyed look and continued, "That's right. Only he can enter the gate of Classic Mansion. And no one else is allowed to enter, nor are they allowed to leave the parking lot." The other party was already a little angry, and when he heard this, he became even more furious and immediately said angrily, "You are just the owner of a mere restaurant. Who gives you the capital to dare to talk to me like this? Do you know how important Mr. Rothschild's safety is?" Orville said calmly, "Anyway, my boss is already waiting upstairs. If the boss can't get up, just give me a quick message." Steve, who had been in the car, listened clearly to the conversation between the driver and the bodyguard through the intercom system in the car. Orville was like this when he heard it. Having said that, it was clear that he was not prepared to make any concessions. So he quickly opened the car door and walked out. The safety consultant was about to argue with Orville when he saw Steve getting out of the car in person. He quickly turned around and ran towards him and said, "Sir, you can't go up by yourself. We can't guarantee your safety." Steve waved his hand. "It's okay. Since Mr. Wade is the host, safety is guaranteed. Just wait for me here." The man hurriedly said, "Sir, this